going to take you out until I come back in.
Okay.
You don't do anything. Hello, this is DJ Straight, and we are live again. I'm telling you guys, this is going to be a great session. We have had technical difficulties, but in perseverance, God is prevailing, and I'm going to wait for you guys to come back on because I don't know what was going on. I had to sign off, sign back on, but we're going to trust God that everything is going to work out fine. And now we'll wait for, excuse me, while I'm talking, while I'm waiting for viewers to come on, I want to introduce you to WGMLB. WGMLB is a internet gospel station, and within that internet gospel station, we have several shows that we have every week, and we invite you all to participate. We invite you all to participate in the shows. Okay. I am getting ready to introduce our guest for today. I have the flyer up there, and it's called Open Mic. And I wanted this young lady to come and talk and to share her testimony because, as you can see from the three pictures, you see picture number 1, number 2, and number 3. This is DJ Straight coming to you live from Praise in the Closet. And my guest today is none other than Minister Lisa Gressen, all the way. Listen, you guys, all the way from Waldorf, Maryland. And I am so glad that she is not ashamed to share her testimony of what God has done for her in her ordeal, just in general. So I want to bring her on, Minister Lisa Gressen. I believe she has her handle as the Walking Miracle. And I am thankful that you decided to come on today and share what the Lord has done for you. Now, I'm going to let you go freestyle, but I have 2 opening questions for you. First of all, thank you again for coming on. And for those that are not able to come on live now, this will be on the YouTube channel, DJ Straight, this evening. And so I have 2 questions for you. First of all, hello, because I can run my mouth. And then secondly, what was your first thought when you were diagnosed? And then the second question is, what was the diagnosis? Go for it.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm going to tell this story. That's why we were having all these technical difficulties, but we done got through now, so I'm ready to rip it. I what happened is that I had a seizure in my sleep, and I was awakened with my kids who were young at that time, letting me know that they were getting ready to leave for school. And normally I would be up and helping them to get dressed, making sure they have everything or whatever. And I noticed that my speech was off, my mouth had dry blood in there, and my clothes were soaking wet. I had no clue what was going on, and I just knew that my body was in pain. My mouth was hurting, my body was in pain, my clothes was wet, and I could barely hear my kids talking to me. And I talked to my husband. I called him and talked to him about it. He said, I think you may have had a seizure in your sleep. And we went to a neurologist, and he ordered me to do a series of tests, and I did. And in doing the test came back. He showed me, you know how they do the x-ray films? He showed me the x-ray films, and there was a mass that was sitting on the right side of my head. And he told me that it was a tumor. And he said, I don't know what kind, I don't know to what degree, what's going on, but I got to send you to a specialist. Um, and then hearing him say that, I'm like, I thought you were a specialist. He was like, no, I don't specialize in brain tumor removal. I can see it, but I'm going to send you somewhere else. So
Okay.
off I go to Baltimore with the test results. And I met with like a world renowned brain tumor or neurologist, surgical
Okay.
neurologist. And in meeting with him, he went over all the reports, the lab work, and everything. And then he came back and told me you had a brain tumor, and the only way it can be removed is by surgery.
Oh.
And of course, I'm feeling fine. It wasn't nothing happening prior to that. So him telling me something like that was truly like a punch to the gut. Like, you got to be kidding me. I'm too young for this.
So
What
you
is
had
going
no
on?
warnings at
No
all
morning.
other than the sleep? Wow.
No, I had no headaches. I had no any of that. I had no signs of anything going on, which was surprising to us because I didn't know. I mean, I didn't have any issues. And in meeting with him, he was very clear we need to go in right away. We got to do this, we got to do that. And being the person that I am, I could be very forward, which can be offensive to some. I don't mean any harm, but it's like, truly, I don't mean any harm. But
Right.
I said to the doctor, wait, pump your brakes. I need to put some things in place before I commit to something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor pretty much was like, no, we need to go in right away. And I said, no, I need to put a plan into place. So we went back and forth, and I just said, okay, let's settle on a date. Now, this was in November 2007. Um, and I said to him, give me the opportunity. So he went through his schedule, and
Okay.
then we agreed on a date in January 2008. So once I left his office, I was riding home in the car with my husband, and I had a complete emotional meltdown where I just boohooed, I cried, I bawled. Why me, God? Why me? Why I gotta go through this? I gotta
Okay.
get my head cut open. This is crazy. And so, literally, it was like, I cried literally all the way home, which was at that time like a 2-hour ride.
Wow.
Um, and when I got home, I looked at my kids in their face, and it's like, what would life be like without me? What would they do? I got to go get this together for my children. That was the first thing I thought about,
How long
and
ago
so,
was this? Excuse me.
huh?
How long ago was this? Because I know you have children, you have grandchildren. How long ago was this? Were they grown or were they teenagers or your children?
No, this was in 2007 when I found out about it. And at that time, all of my children were in school. They were
School.
in they were in junior high school and high school. So they were of school age. And they were
Okay.
just letting when I figured out all the symptoms and stuff that was going on, that something wasn't right. They were school age. So when
Okay.
I got home after meeting with the brain surgeon, and talking, we didn't talk to the kids at that time because I said I wasn't ready. But what I did was I sought the face of God. I knew what to do was to seek the face of God. And it's just like, God, I'm talking, I'm like, God, listen, we know each other, and I need you to tell me what's going on here, you know. And so I sought God. I got to put a plan in place. I prayed, I studied, I worshiped, and I just began to read my word.
Okay.
And my husband took me to the Old Testament, and he was just like, sweetheart, we got to take this to our elders. So at that time, after studying, and he and I talked about it, we prayed together.
Mm-hmm.
I went to talk to my spiritual parents at that time, and well, they still are to this day. I talked to my spiritual parents who gave me guidance and insight on what to do, and
Okay.
putting a plan together, a plan of action together. And that was to, seek the face of God, to, continue to study my word, and, be mindful of what you're going through to where you can't tell everybody what's going on. And I was like, okay, I got that. And then I added on to that by going to see a holistic doctor to get my immune system built up, to, get my physical body ready for what's about to happen. And then I
Okay.
had to tell my mom, I had to tell my grandma, because it's like, what am I going to do? I need time, to heal, because they said a surgery of this magnitude is going to take you at least 2 months to heal.
Mhm.
And then I had to go through the motions of putting things in place with my job and everything like that. So fast forward.
Hold on 1 second. Who else
Okay.
had that surgery? There were other people
Okay.
who had that same surgery that you had that you're talking about.
Okay. From what I've seen for myself, there were a few known people who had what I had. So I know that Joe
Hmm.
Biden's son, he had it. You had Ted Kennedy, he had it, and John McCain, he had it. So you had three politicians that I know of for sure that had it, and all three of them passed away.
Wow. Wow.
So, um, so here we are, January 2008. It's showtime. It's time to show up at the hospital. By this time, I was so full of God, like studying my word. I mean, I put
Okay.
together my praise and worship list. I mean, on the way to the hospital, my husband and I, we had very minimum words with each other, because I was so focused. I'm like, let's do this. And
Okay.
I was strategically on point, because on that day, I wore a red sweatsuit.
Uh-oh.
And
Okay.
I was given specific instructions to wear that red sweatsuit, because that was representation of the blood of Jesus, that I was covered.
Okay.
And my pastor was there at the hospital waiting for us, and he prayed with me before I went up to the surgical room.
Okay.
Now, I had already made arrangements, so my mom was at home with my children, and I had, kissed all of them, and let's go get this done. You know,
Hmm.
I just knew God had me. And then they told me where to go into the room. So my husband escorted me, and they was like, we're gonna get her ready. You can stay with her until we, you know, take her back for surgery. So as they were beginning to prep me and things of that nature, all I could hear was my praise and worship music in my head. Like,
Okay.
this ain't no time to fear. And of course, the enemy is going to come in with his little tactics and things of that nature. And I just began to quote the word of God. I cast down every imagination.
And the imagination, yeah.
I cast it down. And I said, I studied Ephesians. I'm up in here with the whole armor of God. You will not penetrate me today, Satan. You will not. I was
Okay.
very clear with that. And I made sure that anybody who I came in contact with, what is your faith like? Because I'm very meticulous on who put their hands on me. Don't touch me if you ain't right. I don't, demons transfer, let's be real.
That's right.
And I could not afford anyone touching me that was not right. And I'm still like that to this day. I don't know what you got, and I don't want no parts of it. So having said that, my husband said his words to me, and next thing you know, it was all to the surgical room that I went. I was by myself then. It was just me, God, and the medical team. And I go into this huge white room, and they had like tables of surgical utensils. It had to be like
Okay.
4 or 5 tables of surgical utensils, and they had medical students in the room. And each one of them, I asked them, "What's your faith like? What is your faith like? What do you believe in?" Oh, Miss Gretchen, we have the faith. We have the. I said, okay, because what I need me around me right now is Angel standing on post, that when this doctor to touch me and do what he has to do, I already know the manifestation is that it is well. But I need you all to be on point to believe that as well. And they was like, yes, we agree with you, Miss Gretchen. I said, that's all I need to know. And then next thing you know, they gave me the happy juice through the IV, and I began to count backwards, and I looked at the ceiling, and all I said was, God, in your hands, I commit myself.
Did they
And
tell you how long your surgery was going to be?
well, they said based on where the tumor was sitting, they said that the procedure was going to take 7 hours.
And how big was the
And
tumor?
the tumor was about the size of a small lemon,
Wow.
a
Okay.
small lemon. And They told me that when they went in, so I'm gonna give you all the visual. Um, is this side? Let me help y'all. I want to give y'all the visual because I serve a God that's real. Let me go this way. The wait, is this no this way? No, looking at yourself on the screen is different. Okay, see, you can see right here. It's from here all the way over is the incision. And what they did was they pulled my face down, and right here there is a hole in my head where they drilled here to go in with their utensils to um get at the tumor. And
Okay.
what should have been a 7 hour surgery took 2.5 hours.
Okay.
And during that, they immediately, I mean, everything was smooth. They put me in ICU, and I had to be monitored closely. When I was awakened to my husband standing at the foot of the bed. Again, I was in another white room. My head was bandaged up completely, and I was in all white. Now, my first
Okay.
inkling in coming out is like, Lord, did I make my transition? I was thinking, like, did I make my
Wow.
transition? I'm like in all white. And from the gown, so the gown that I had on when I went in for surgery, I didn't have that on when I came out. And my head was bandaged so tight that you couldn't even see nothing but my eyebrows, and my eye, from the eyebrows down, that's all you could see. And so my husband began to tell me what was going on. And he
Mm.
told me that the doctor said that when they were waking me up, I was in there quoting scriptures. I don't remember any of that, but he said that's what they said. And
Okay.
oh, for the record, because I know what they do in the room, yes, I did go get my nails and my feet done before I had surgery. Yes, I did.
Okay.
That's what Lisa G is well.
That sounds
But
like you. Okay.
I was like, if I'm gonna go in there, let's do this right.
You
I'm
say,
like, I
Jesus,
got to
I'm
look
coming to
right.
see you. I want my nails done, my feet done. I know how you are about your clothes and everything. But okay. So what was supposed to take 7 hours only took two.
Yes, it only took two.
Oh,
And
Aressa McCray Williams said, "Hello, everyone. Yes, indeed, a walking miracle."
yes. And when I got to my room, I just began to rejoice. And my husband said that I said something to the effect that I saw Satan fall like lightning. Again, I'm doped up. I don't remember anything. I really don't. I just knew that I was in God's hands and that he was going to take care of me. So um, I spent 2 days in the hospital, and they just told me that be prepared. You're
Okay.
going to go through a lot of fluid buildup in your face. You're going to be unrecognizable. Um, but don't worry, you're going to be okay. So I had a series of tests to go through. Within, by the time I was released from the hospital, like more tests on my head, and so it showed that they got the majority of the tumor, but they couldn't get all of it because of where it was placed at. So as you know, that an octopus has like tentacles, you know what I mean? So this is the mass
Okay.
of the octopus, and it has like tentacles. So they said that some of the tumor was still down in my brain, but they got out as much as they could without causing any harm. And so they said there was a possibility that it could grow back. So anyway, I went home from the hospital with a walker and a Ziploc bag full of pills.
Okay.
I could not do anything for myself. I could not bathe myself. I could not get up and walk, because getting up to walk is literally like you have like a waterhead, almost like, a newborn, a new child trying to walk. My balance was not stable. So I had to be waited on hand and foot. So
I put your. I'm
with that,
sorry.
I had to depend on my husband,
Okay.
and I had to depend on my mom to help me do what I need to do. And they were able to work it out to take care of the kids, to look out for me. Um, and within 2 weeks' time, I was able to get up, walk up and down the steps, take care of myself, but it was slow motion. I couldn't do anything fast.
Okay.
And I was just able to, you know, somewhat get back mobility to be able to do things. and being swollen beyond recognition, I definitely kept, myself um isolated from people,
Okay.
just surrounded by immediate family. So I was not amongst a lot of people. I didn't tell a lot of people, but I was not
Okay.
allowing people to come around. And my husband, being the gatekeeper that he is, he
Mhm.
wasn't having it.
Okay. Let me interrupt you because Brittany Allerby Peterson said, "Okay, diva," and because you said about how you painted it. But see, this is the thing. You knew what you were going into. Like you said, it started with a seizure in your sleep, and you all went to get checked out, and you knew that it was how serious it was, but yet because you prepared yourself in prayer and scriptures and the worship music, you didn't go into the surgery being afraid. And
No,
that makes a huge difference because there are a lot of Christians, saved, sanctified, Holy Ghost filled, and they may go into the surgery afraid, and that's them. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm saying in reference to you, and that's why you were able to go in there with such peace. And since you had all that, the scriptures and stuff resonating in your spirit, when you came out, what was in, that's what was coming out. They may not
that's the
understood.
key. That
Yeah.
is the key, going in prepared. There was no room for fear. I mean, it's either you
Uh-huh.
with God or you not. Are you going to trust him or you not? Now, I will be the first to admit I had my moment. I did have moments to where I'm like, come on, God, like reasoning with God. Like, can you pick somebody else? Why? I mean, anybody that knows Lisa Gressen knows that I believe in having my hair laid. And I'm
Yes.
like, I gotta cut my hair, God. Come on, I went through it, cutting up my
Yeah.
hair to, I mean, and then I had to be I was intentional on who I allowed around me, because
Mhm.
um people can cause your mindset to shift if you allow it.
Yeah.
And I was very intentional on, nope, because the saying in the family house, the Gresham household, is that we don't roll with no punks. So if you're
Okay.
gonna be a punk spiritually on or in the physical, then you can't come around. I don't want to be around it. Not that I think I'm all that, but if I'm gonna get in a fight, I need you to be there fighting with me.
Yes.
If I need backup, I don't want to look over my shoulder and you running the other way. I called on folks who I knew, that knew the word, to stand with me, to
Okay.
pray with me, to pray for me. Can I call on you, sister girl, to pray
Okay.
for us? Can I call on you, brother man, to pray for us? Because that makes the difference. It does.
It makes a huge difference, like you
Mhm.
said, those that are around you. Okay, and so how long was your initial recuperation? Because you pretty much couldn't do anything, so you almost had to learn how to walk and eat and get dressed. How long was that? Did that take you to do?
It took me about 3 months to have some sense of normalcy, because I couldn't drive. I was restricted, and that drove me nuts because I'm used to being able to come and go
Right.
as I please. So having to depend on someone else to do something for me that I was used to doing myself,
Uh-huh.
that drove me nuts. And then I couldn't go get my nails done.
Right. Your
So
real nails. Let's say your real
my
nails.
real
Your
nails. I
real
don't do the fake
nails.
stuff. So yeah, so it took me about 3 months. So by the second month, I was back able to, like cook dinner and cook for my family and do light chores. I wasn't trying to rush the process, but trying to
Okay.
have something to do.
So, how long between getting back to normal and then finding out that you had to have a second surgery? And then, why did you have to have a second surgery?
Okay, so the first surgery was in 2008. Now, when you have a surgery of this magnitude, you have to go through follow ups. So, twice a year, I have to go to have an MRI done, and I get in the tube, and they monitor you that way, and they look at the results to see. But the doctors told me at the first surgery that they got all that they could, and there's a possibility that it may come back because they didn't get everything. So I was like, okay, the devil is a liar, and so are you, but we're gonna see. And they told me that most people in this state will see you back in about 3 years to 5 years. Well, in my case, it was 8 years.
Okay.
So for me, 8 years, Okay. 8 years. What does eight represent?
New beginnings.
New beginnings. So, you so smart. So anyway, I went back, um, for the 8 year anniversary of my surgery, and they told me that they had a board meeting about me, and I was like, how come I wasn't included? If you're going to talk about me, let me be there. So they said in that last MRI that they saw some mass sitting on the top of my head, like in the place where they removed the last one. And I said, okay, so what does that mean? Give it to me straight.
Okay.
And that's when they said again that we gotta go back in your head and into the same incision. We're gonna do the same thing, and this time we're gonna go as deep as we can without causing you any paralysis. And so again, I'm like, here we go. And I'm just like, God, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're trying to show me, but I'm done. You gonna have to hold my hand through this. I was just
Well,
done. Yes, I cried. Yes, I boo-hooed because I didn't want to do it again. It was just so painful. It was a physically painstaking experience.
so how
And
long was
this
supposed to be? I'm sorry. So how long was the second surgery supposed to be compared to the first surgery? Like mirror or something?
Wait, say that again.
How long was the second surgery? Was it the mirror of the first surgery, meaning we're scheduling for 7 hours? It could be more, could be less.
Well, the second surgery, what they said was that they saw some mass. It was not supposed to be as it was not as intense as the first one. So the second one was kind of like going in to get the residual of what they could get. So this time around, I went through the same thing. It was the same doctor. Because I was very, conscientious of that. I'm like, if it's not him, then we just gonna have to ride it out. Because I'm not. Mm-mm. So the second time around, it was him again, and he explained it to me. He said, I'm going in to get as much as I can. He said, your tumor was unlike one that he had never seen. Now, this man had performed over 1,000 surgeries. So he is like under the tutelage of Ben Carson. So he's a world renowned brain surgeon, and he was under his tutelage. So in working with him again, he said, I'm going in to get as many of the tentacles as I can without causing you paralysis. So again, we put a plan of action in place. Again, mom stepped up to the plate. By this time, my kids are older and I am a grandmother. I have a grandson. I have one grandchild. Thank the Lord. I have one who's my
You think
heartbeat.
you birthed him yourself?
Um,
Go ahead.
huh?
I said you would think that you birthed him yourself. Go ahead.
Well, that's my heart. God knew what he was doing when he gave me that little boy. That's my heart. And he swear he is one of mine. He act like it. But um having said that, it's a plan of action about my kids. What is it going to be like without me? And I got a grandson now to look after, my husband and, like my mom, so calling mom is like, Ma, I need your help again. She's like, what do you want me to do? And by this time, she's retired. So she's like, okay. So mom moved in with me and she just began to be in position to serve and help in whatever which way she can. Back to the same hospital I went. This time, the surgery was 3 hours. And I came out, wasn't in a white room this time. I was
Okay.
in a regular room, and I had prayer warriors there in the hospital, standing proxy with my husband, seeking the face of God on my behalf. So while I was in surgery, they were walking the floor in the waiting
Wow.
room, praying for me and other families as I was going through the surgery. I came out of this surgery a little shaken this time. Faith was intact, but the physical aspects of this surgery was a little bit more harsh. I'm a
How
little
in what
older,
capacity? Oh,
huh?
because you were old.
Yeah,
Okay.
I ain't old. I'm a little girl. I don't look like what I've been through, but I know I ain't that old. Okay.
Okay. So why
So
were you a little bit more shaken this time?
I was more shaken this time because of the pain. The
Okay.
pain was more intense because imagine like scraping something. They were actually scraping, and I could feel the pain from that. I mean, Imagine like a bruise, you're already bruised and you hit up against that bruise. And I mean, that's the best way that I can explain it. And I just know the intensity of the pain was just beyond any descriptive words that I could think of for someone to really understand it.
Was that on your whole
And
body or just your head, or your
it was the
whole body
head.
was in
I
pain? It
mean,
was the
I
head.
felt like my head was hit up against a brick wall. I mean,
Wow.
like the intensity of the pain, like even to this day, I'm sensitive to sound. I cannot take any loud noises. And my husband, who preaches so loud, I cannot sit close to him. He
Okay.
prays so loud, I cannot be close to him. I
Wow.
cannot listen to loud music. I cannot listen to loud TVs. So the intensity this time shook me because it was a pain that not even Tylenol could handle.
Wow.
So I had to be prescribed a level of morphine that only a doctor could give you.
Okay. And in this time, did you find that your faith, your prayers and things are just growing stronger with God? Because you had so much downtime. You had a lot of down quiet time. Did you find yourself thinking of different things, or just saying, okay, God, what's my assignment? Or, thank you for letting me come through here. Because as you said, the three people you named, Kennedy Williams and the other person, John McCain, they are not here today, and they had the same surgery that you had.
So for me, during this time, when you're a mother of three children and a grandchild, and you work a full time job with a spouse who's in the ministry, it's hard to find downtime. But when
Okay.
I was able to get it, I just used that time to seek God and just seek Him in the studying of my word, in my quiet time. It was in the praise and worship. Like, God, what is it that you will have for me to do? What is it that you will want me to do? And it was in this time that I accepted my call to the ministry because I knew that I had been running.
Oh,
That's the truth.
wow.
And I was just like, God, I don't want to get up in front and talk to nobody. I don't want
Okay.
to talk to people. I like being in the background. I'm a background worker. I'm an admin person at heart. That's my gift. So here I am trying to bargain with God, rationalize with God, but it was just like, no, you're called. I was like,
Okay.
but I'm like Moses, what am I going to say? My speech is not eloquent. I don't have all those degrees that these
Okay.
ministers, are braggadocious about. I don't have that, so what am I going to do?
Okay. I
What am
have
I
a
going to do?
question. I have a question from Angela Swinson Lee. She said, "Thank you for sharing your story. How did this change your out?" Oh, by the way, I'm gonna interrupt you. I forgot to tell you. Thank you for sharing your story. How did this change your outlook on life?
Okay. For me, this situation let me know how precious that life is, and that I needed to handle it with more care, more prayer, and it's fragile. So for me, coming out of both of these incidents made me draw closer to my family. I come from a tight knit family. We're pretty close. So for me, and coming out on this side, the second time around, I became more closer to my mom, who's now my angel, and more closer to my grandmother, who's also now my angel. Um, just being around my family and spending more time with my children and my grandson and my husband. It just made me. It just let me know that life is nothing more but a vapor. You could be here today and gone tomorrow. So it's up to you and what you make it. And it was just the opportunity for me to just say, I wasn't like, I'm not a loosey goosey type of person, meaning that, I just am willy nilly. No, ma'am. It's just make whatever you do count, make it matter. Be intentional about spending time with your loved ones. And that's what I did, and that's what I'm doing even now. It's just spending more time with the fam.
Because prior to these two surgeries, you never had surgeries. You had children, but you never had any major surgery, correct?
I never had anything of this magnitude. Now, as a child, I had many surgeries on my throat. As a child,
Oh,
from the age of 5 to 28, I had 14 operations on my vocal cords. So
wow.
that's how I knew God had something for me to do, because I sounded like Froggy when I was growing up. I had like a raspy voice, and I had what you call papillomas of the vocal cords, and it was like warts that grew on my throat that could only be removed by surgery.
Wow. That's 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 commendable. Why, as you were talking, I'm just sharing some of the pictures that you shared with me, in reference to the different things that you had gone through.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least I think I'm going to share them.
Y'all see
Um,
that hair? Y'all see that hair? That hair is laid.
yeah, she had the hair laid. For those who don't know, Lisa and I used to work together from in the 80s or 90s. Well, we knew each other in
Mm-hmm.
the 80s, and we worked together in the 90s. And um, she was always dressed very nice. The hair was always going to be done, and her hair was not fried, dyed to the side. It was to the side. Now I don't know if it was grease or what, but her fingernails things were done. But she had a great work ethic. So when she talks about work, her desk was always clean. You never knew if she was at work or not at work because her desk stayed clean. And so that's why when she began to tell me about the surgery that she had when I first saw her, I didn't recognize her because she didn't have, you see that picture, she didn't have that hair to the side. And so she began to share with me a little bit of what was going on, and that's why I wanted her to come on, Praise from the Closet in WGMLB, because we want to reach everybody any way we can, just to spread the love of God, in a good way, a fun way, unconventional way. And so she's not finished talking yet. So I just wanted to thank her again publicly for coming on, because, like she said, she's a wife, she's a mommy, she's a grandmother. And at that time, to have all these things going on, who else could help her but God? You had the physical people here, but then who else could be her strength, her source of strength, but God? You see how she adorns herself. She makes sure that head is adorned. And there we go. Look at this one right here. This
Hey.
doesn't look like a person that had brain surgery. This looks like somebody that's ready to take my picture. Remember this picture? Take my picture. I'm a fashion. So, and honestly, sometimes when people have these major surgeries or go through a major change in their life, it alters their character, it alters their personality, it shakes their faith in God at times. But you are a testimony to say your faith only grew stronger, but that means you had to have a foundation from somewhere. So if you can talk about a little bit of how, because you guys were pastoring at this time, right?
The
Were
second time around, yes, but not the first time.
So how did this help at all in the pastoring part, as far as believing God to start a church and to keep the church going and different things like that? And I praise God because you all have been faithful and consistent, in this. And I probably switched titles, but it's okay. And then, could you have done anything differently?
Um, well, during the second time around, we were pastoring at that time. And while I was going through my recovery phase, I told my husband to continue on with ministry. And what was going on was that always one of my children stayed home with me to ensure that if I needed anything, that, I would have what I need. So from a ministerial standpoint, my husband kept going forward because I told him to. And rest assured, um, at the end of, or at the conclusion of the service, it wasn't any hanging around. He would come straight home. He was not available until later in the week. So, having said that, during that time, ministry did continue, because I told him to, because that's what God had called us to do, was to continue in the ministry. And I gave him the blessing to do so, because for as far as he was concerned, he was just like, well, we can, shut down for a moment and let me be there with you. And I said, no, because we got to do what God has called us to do. So I appreciated him and his willingness to do that and referencing me as his first ministry.
Correct.
But
Okay.
I wanted to
Okay.
make sure the people of God were fed too.
Okay. But people don't know this. I don't think She don't mind her age being told. I don't think she's 50 yet.
I am 50. I turned
What?
50 last year.
Oh,
I
okay.
made it to a birthday that the enemy thought I wasn't going to make it to. He tormented me and said that I
Okay.
wasn't going to make it, but contrary. Not
Okay.
so. Not so.
Okay. So you'll be 51 November the 4th because she celebrates
Absolutely.
the whole month. But the reason I
I
interrupted
still
is to
do.
say, how long, now y'all not going to believe this. Hold on to your seats. How long have you and Marcus been courting and then have been married?
Okay. How did I know you
Ask
were going to ask
Marcus.
me that? I knew you were going to ask me that.
Because
Um,
there's a union there. You had that type of support because you said you were his first ministry, which is correct, and not, church. So go ahead.
Marcus and I have been together since 1987. He was my prom date. Um, we courted for 4 years, and we met in 87 to the prom in 88. Y'all help me, y'all bear with me as I do the math.
It's a
88,
long time.
90. So in totality, because we have broke up for a period of time, because that's when he got deep into his call with God, and I was a
Oh,
distraction.
you wasn't ready.
I was a distraction. So we got back together in 1990. So we broke up after my prom in 88, and we got back together in 90, and we went through a series courtship. But if you
Mm-hmm.
ask him, he's going to combine the time from 87 to 90, and then we got married in 94. So we've been married since 1994, but we've been married 27 years,
Okay,
but we've
that's what I
been
was trying to get.
together for over 30 years, including the
Wow,
courtship.
you was in
Including the
Pampers
courtship.
and so was he. Okay.
I knew him when he had peach fuzz on his upper lip.
Oh, okay. And I said that because I just wanted to for the people again to hear your testimony, your steadfastness in the Lord. But then, like I said, you had your family surrounding you, and today to look at you, nobody would know what you have been through without you opening your mouth, because not one time did you ever in this whole ordeal as you were talking did you ever say, God, I'm just gonna give up because it's just too much. I ain't asked for all of this, but you continue to persevere on. And for those that are listening, this is what open mic is about. Yes, I'm putting a plug in for WGMLB. This segment is called open mic because if you have something to say, or you want to share something. You don't have to be a minister. You just may want to, talk about, why you like pink fingernail polish. It may have a meaning to you. You never know the lives that you're going to touch. And this is why I wanted Minister Lisa Gressen to come on to share her testimony about not one, but two brain surgeries. Some of us can't even stand to somebody to pinch our arm before we like, where's the Band-Aid, and we're bleeding and we're bruising. But I wanted to thank you for taking the time to come on Praise from the Closet, WGMLB, and we are a
Thank you
live
for
radio
having me.
station on the internet, 365 days, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But this won't be your last time. Now you'll probably come in a different capacity because I know you have a whole lot of other hobbies that you do. You have a lot to say. I know you have a ministry that you help women in. Is that right? You have a women's ministry. You work with the
Yes.
youth. You and Pastor Marcus could definitely talk about marriage because you guys been married for 27 years,
I
and
know a
I can
thing or two or
personally
three.
attest.
I know a little something, something.
Yeah, and I can personally attest to you all's love and marriage firsthand experience. Not something that I heard or read, but firsthand experience. And so, thank you all for bearing with us in the beginning. She had to get this testimony out. This has never happened before that I've had so many technical difficulties from Praise from the Closet, but
Ain't nobody mad with the devil. He got the right one. I ain't nobody
absolutely,
scared of him. Ain't nobody scared of him.
absolutely,
Shoot, that
absolutely. And
joker.
we were determined that this was going to happen today. So my last and final question, you can have the final remarks. If there was anything throughout this whole ordeal that you could have done differently, what would that have been? And it may be nothing, but I'm just asking.
If there's anything I could have done differently, I would have taken more time to take off, like to relish in the quiet time. Because I live such a busy life, I wish I had took more time to be with God, meaning, not be so, because I was so quick to get back. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to get back to my responsibilities as a mother, a wife, get back to work, all of that. I would not have rushed back into it the way that I did. I just would have taken my time in both times. Now, the second time, again, with that being more intense for me, the first time I was off work for 3 months. The second time I was off work for 6 months. And I was forced to come back the second time because I was going to ride it out. But I would have paced myself and just waited a little longer to come back before getting back into the thick of my normal duties and responsibilities. And one thing I
Okay.
just want to say to the people, um, they did tell me that the tumor was cancerous, and they told me that I needed to go to get chemo and radiation. And I had to seek God for that. I'm not knocking chemo and radiation. I'm not knocking it, but in my spirit, I didn't do it. I took the holistic approach, and I went to see a holistic doctor where I got the herbal remedies put together for me. And seek, I did not do chemo or radiation. So this is a complete faith walk for me. So no
Okay.
chemo, no radiation, but I did tell my husband there will not be a third time. This coconut will not get cut open a third time.
Wow. That's
So
awesome.
it's just a matter of, I just tell anybody, whose report are you going to believe? That's the last thing I'm going to leave them with. Whose report are you going to believe?
Amen. So again, I want to thank my guest, Minister Lisa Gressen, and we are coming from. Y'all gonna get tired of hearing me saying this, but praise from the closet, because there's a testimony of why praise from the closet exists with DJ Straight. That would be me from WGMLB. And I thank you all for coming on. And Minister Lisa Gressen, I can't thank you enough because I
Thank you
have
for having
certainly
me.
learned. Sure, I have certainly learned just from your testimony, just about being strong and going into the unknown, going into the unknown. And so I thank you all for tuning in today. And look at our schedule. We will have more to come. Visit the website.
Thank
This
you.
this
I
is DJ
appreciate
Straight
it.
signing off. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa Greason.
Thank you, Bugger.
Okay.